That happened.
That's right. Time goes by. Okay, welcome to everybody for the Node.js package maintenance team meeting for February 1st, which we were just talking about. It's a new month. We will follow the agenda that was tagged in the repo, which was issue number 508. Here, let me paste the link so that everybody who's here in attendance can put themselves into the attendees. So far, it's Michael, myself, Dominicus, and Owen. And we're all in, actually, we're all on Zoom this time, so I don't need to read that out. But before we get started, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share?
Yeah, probably now's a good time, right? I tagged a v0.1 of the pkg.js action. It's basically self-updating node matrix, which automatically adds the new releases. So yeah, please use it. Please give feedback. Hopefully V1 is not too far off.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a good form for sharing that, or a way to like either maybe in like the Node Slack or something? Wondering how we let people know that that's there.
I don't know. I'm not good at these things, right?
Sure.
That's why it's taking so long, actually. Yeah. No, I started opening up pull requests, or rather issues, and then pull requests on various Node.js org repos.
Okay.
I also opened some on pkg.js org as well. Though there's one failing, I'll fix that up. So that's a start. It's a 0.1, so I would understand reluctance, but yeah, I guess may announce it on the OpenJS and Node.js Slacks for folks. So yeah, good point.
I guess like
fun.
We could figure like, is it time for a blog post / tweets from the Node repo?
Yeah, so regarding the blog post, I was thinking that maybe we could tag a V1 and then do the blog post.
Okay.
Because V0, according to December, anything goes. Even if we make a promise, I don't want to introduce too much churn for people. So sure. Yeah, Jordan kind of raised concerns that maybe we need to collect more feedback before we tag a V1. So
how about a tweet that says, hey, it's at V0.1, go try it out. Like I guess it's like we have these different channels, and the node, I don't know what it is, but it has like 500,000 followers. So if we want a broad, hey, try it out, that might make sense. Or maybe we want to keep it as a smaller try it out before then. That's what I'm just exploring.
I'd like to tag a V1 before we do that kind of a large audience. Okay. Because yeah, like I said, don't want to get people to start using it, pinning it to 0.1 while we're potentially iterating and then not upgrading. So
with say the package maintenance channel, like this group, maybe they could be the beta testers. Maybe they don't know yet.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. It's Node.js org and pkg.js org. So I'll maybe post it on the general or whatever appropriate channel is on the OpenJS Slack and then on the Node.js.
Yeah,
Slack.
That might be good. Then you could seed it to a smaller group first, like you're thinking about. That'd be cool.
Yeah, maybe a discussion item in the main Node.js repo to say, hey, this is now available. We'd like your treat, please try it out. And here's the discussion where people can provide and discuss their feedback. Would make some sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize, we want to share it with some people, just not everybody, but who's that first small sample to start with, But yeah, I can play around with this too.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Thanks for that announcement. Anything else? Any other announcements before we move on?
Nothing for me.
Okay, the next one, the first one issue on our agenda is 2022 promotion events, number 506. Now, I don't think we have the team members who are going to focus on that, so I don't have an update. Does anybody else? If not, we will move on to the next
Is
one.
the
Sorry, go.
would that include like OpenJS CFP, or is it just for, I guess, what's the who's the subject of the promotional events in this case? Is it just
Basically,
Node.js,
it's to like, let's put together our overall plan for this year. And, you know, it's like, let's talk about an article, some talks we might submit to like OpenJS and Roundtable. Now, I guess that is a good point, though, that OpenJS World, the CFP is open now. So if we do want to submit a talk, now's the time to do that, right?
maybe because maybe by a couple months from now, the action might be more available. Okay, so I guess this is promotional events for us as a working group.
Yeah, what the
Got
work,
it.
you know, promoting the work of the team. But I was going to say we can wait till, you know, Vostrick and Glenn are here next time. But I think it is, we do need somebody, if we're going to do a submit a talk for OpenJS World, we need to get a volunteer who's going to submit that.
Do they have lightning talks? Because maybe like lightning talks on either the docs or the action or something like that, you know, just to kind of like a PSA style.
Yeah.
If we don't have like a 45 or enough material for like 45 minutes or an hour, I'm not sure if they have
I
lightning
think they tend
talks.
to, there are regular talks, which are between 20 and 30 minutes typically. And then there are lightning talks as well. So we could do the shorter.
Yeah, maybe the docs and or the action could each be their own little lightning talk. So we did a lot of draft promotion last year.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll comment in the ticket to that effect.
Yeah, and if you're volunteer, I think the key thing is like, if you're willing to volunteer to do that, that would be a good idea.
I don't mind, but I have a topic of my own for OpenJSF. So
Yep.
I mean, I don't mind putting together like abstracts, but I don't want to be the guy that shows up with like 5 conference talk proposals and kind of nudge my way out of, you know, the main one I want to get.
The main one, yeah, okay, right. And that is, you know, you're only likely to get one accepted or maybe
yeah,
2.
I don't want to. Plus, maybe if there's, you know, I don't know if there's ever preference for like maintainers or leads within that group, not to play favorites, but anyway, I'll put a comment in there about sharing those and see if anybody's interested, because even if someone writes the abstract, we still need someone to give it.
Yep.
Is it a face-to-face this year?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And it's somewhere in the US, isn't it?
It's in Austin, Texas. And it's in June, I believe, beginning of June. I mean, that's the current plan. We hope things can, you know, go in the right direction. Uncertain
Does
times.
say hybrid, in person and virtual. I'm not sure what falls on which side of those, but it does mention it's hybrid.
I think that there may be options for like watching remotely and stuff like that.
Okay. I wonder if there's an option to present remotely.
That I haven't been part of the program committee. So, but I do hear, you know, what's going on indirectly. That's, yeah, that specific one I haven't heard either way though. So.
Okay. Is there a collab summit happening?
Definitely plan to be the 2 days after the conference.
So is that,
and in fact, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is that when are we gonna get sessions then for this working group and all the other node project working groups?
Yeah, I mean I haven't seen the organization of the node part of the Collab Summit startup yet, but in terms of the planning for OpenJS World, there's rooms reserved, and you know, those 2 days after the main conference are planned to be a Node.js Summit. And yeah, I'm pretty sure the normal process has been like, you know, people submit their proposals, and most of the time we get, like, if we want to have a session, I'm pretty sure we can get a session in there. So.
Yeah, I'm hoping our team, we're gonna hope to get our whole team together out there. So if there's plan to have a Collab Summit afterwards, then it'd be good to see you all in person or virtually.
Absolutely. Really hoping that we can all go this year. I think lots of people are, it would be nice to do that. But yeah, as I currently understand it, it's the 2 days, like the Thursday and the Friday, I think. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. No, I think the main conference is the Tuesday, Wednesday, and then like Thursday, Friday is planned to be the collaborator summits. And then Monday is like a training day. If people want to go for training, that's going to be held. So,
Can
should be a
someone
great-
link to the deadlines in the thread? Just
That
make
is
it
good.
easier
I
to think
believe.
about planning.
Yeah, let me find that. OpenJS CFP.
Those is February 14th.
Yeah.
That's soon.
Yes, it's
Fast
been open
approaching.
for a few weeks. I think it opened up about the beginning of this month. And yeah, it is pretty soon. So that's why I was thinking, like, if we wanted to have like an overall, session on the work of this team, we'd need to find a volunteer pretty soon.
Could we not just prepare something for the Collab Summit working like session?
Yeah, definitely Collab Summit. I think we should absolutely do it. And I don't think we need to plan, like, the deadline is going to be later in terms of when we actually submit for that. I guess maybe it'll come down to, like, Owen, if you put your ideas in there, and if there is somebody who's like, interested in leading, submitting a session on the work and leading that might determine whether we do it or not for OpenJS World versus, I think we absolutely should do something for the collaborator part. That makes sense to everybody?
Yep.
Okay, so Darcy, so Owen, you'll post some stuff in there, have some more discussion. And I posted the link in to say here's the CFP info. And I guess we should note that CFP closes Feb 14. Just so people are reading that, they know there is a deadline. So sounds good. Okay, so that is good. I'm just going to take a quick note there. The next one on the agenda is 503, update requirements for landing PRs. That one, I think, let's see, we've got quite a good number. I think we've got at least our 4, probably more members who've approved. And I think it's been 20, probably tomorrow, 20, is it 4 weeks we wait? So I think that one may be ready to land. I don't think there's too much else to discuss on that one.
I think it used to be 2 weeks, right? According to...
No, I'm pretty sure it was longer. I think this is actually shortening that. So let's hear. I'm just looking at our governance.
I think it was 2. Oh, 7. Yeah. 7 days after the 4th, I guess.
Okay, after the 4th. Okay. Okay, so it's long ready to land. So why don't we just actually land it? I will do that. Great, squash and merge. Okay, so that's good, landed, ready to. Okay, the next issue was team membership audit number 497. So that one, I think last time we discussed, we were waiting for we'd given 30 days, especially given the current time, but I think we are now past that. So we commented on the 30th. We gave people 30 days. So I think we're well past the 30 days. I think at this point, we should be comfortable in going through and actioning the, if people haven't responded, we'll move them to emeritus. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, status update and next steps for PKGS Create. I don't know if we have any updated discussion on that. I'm just taking a quick look. I think.
You know who's leading that? Or I know I haven't been here in a while, but I thought Chris Hiller was the last one to take up the mantle.
I think we had John Church had attended a couple meetings and shown interest in kind of picking that up. And I think Glenn has mentioned maybe that he's got it on his backlog, but we haven't, even John's comment is back in July. So I wouldn't say we have an active person with lots of time to move it forward yet. I think we all still think it's a great idea. It's just a matter of people having cycles, time to prioritize. So I'm just going to say, unless we have other discussion, like for this time, to say it's still on the backlog, but we don't have an update this week.
Do we know what's missing from the current tool? Because I feel like there is, it is working, no?
I don't, to be honest, I don't have a good insight into what are the things that need to be done to get even to the, what we'd consider the MVP, right?
Okay.
Okay, the next one is the suggested list of modules to get support info into.
I wonder if,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I guess I was just thinking, because I see a number of bullets in the various comments. It seems like there's maybe a lot of ideas. I'm not sure if, breaking those out into issues. So they're like, we need this specifically, or, maybe it's just a matter of defining a little scope and issues, and then maybe the people can work in parallel. But to your point, I'm not sure how to distill down what's relevant from the ongoing conversation, but
yeah, I think that's a good idea, but I don't think it makes sense to do that unless whoever does that also has some cycles
right.
to sort of get on top of it, think about what needs to be done. Then they can sort of help rally the troops, right? But
Yeah. Looks like there's a branch, but it's just a branch.
yeah, I think everything's moved into PKGS. So we have it in the right place. We have access. Anybody who's got cycles, we can give access to start, doing things and moving things forward, but it's time is always the hard part. I think the next one, suggested list of modules to help to get support info. I don't really have an update, although there was a Twitter conversation this week where somebody was like, hey, wouldn't it be great if package owners had a better way of telling us, what they supported and how they did it? And I pointed them to this. They're like, wow, that looks great. I'm going to see what I can do to help promote that. There's a little bit of a discussion of the chicken and egg problem, but that otherwise don't really have an update in terms of concrete progress or things that I've worked on or know other people have worked on to move that forward, but still think we should leave it on the agenda. And that takes us to the end of the agenda. Are there any other things people think we should talk about, want us to talk about before we close out for today?
I don't think so. Not for me.
So just noticed there are open PR from 2019 that we still have open against the repository for two-factor auth in CI, which I know Don opened, I don't know how long ago. Yeah, almost 3 years ago now, I guess. Like, I guess my question is, does this stay open for infinite time, or what's the?
Well, let's take a look. Which one is that?
This is
So-
PR 282. I can link in chat here for
Okay.
Not
So
to
I
bring up
parked
something that I'm
it-
gonna have to, not to bring up something that I'm gonna have to be accountable for, but yeah.
Oh yeah, you will. No,
Okay.
I parked it because we were discussing the staging area for a while. Right. So I don't know where that is. I don't know how likely it is to happen. There's also some renewed work on Nearform side on Optic, the reference implementation for the kind of remote push notification based OTP stuff. I don't know where the guys are with that actually. So, I mean, most of what's in here still stands, and I think I did address most of the blocking comments. So, I don't know if somebody wants to read through that again and make some comments and either or approve it, just approve it, then I don't mind it getting merged. There's some ideas there on how it could be implemented, right?
What's the relationship to, because there's a linked RFC on the NPM repo as well. So it looks like it,
Yeah, that's the staging area.
Mhm.
I don't know also whether this is a kind of baseline. Okay, the baseline practice is used TFA when publishing. Using TFA in CI,
Mhm.
TFA in CI, there's some solutions that I outlined. Some of those, maybe I just need to go through the links and see what people have built since.
So I know,
Yeah.
is it NPM planning on, obviously not through CI, but enforcing 2FA for like the top 100? I assume that's just out of CI, but is there, I guess maybe Darcy, you know, if there's anybody brainstorming the CI aspect on the NPM or GitHub side, maybe?
Yeah, so I've actually got this is very topical because I have a call set up this week with our CSO, so our Chief Security Officer, Mike Hanley, who's also gotten involved with OSSF recently, or GitHub has made an investment there for sure, which kind of duplicates on some efforts that I know we were trying to kick off in OpenJSF. And yeah, I'm still pushing on this. It was essentially deprioritized in the last year, so I can say that there hasn't been any work done to create a staging environment for package publishes. That's come up again recently though, internally, so I'm pushing on that. I do think that the RFC encapsulates most of our ideas from a couple of years back in terms of how this could be implemented and why it's actually provides a ton of value. Having sort of a two-step process where you could have CI do a staged publish with the limitations around that not being short-lived, so that it's similar to what we have in GitHub, which is action artifacts, which only have a time to live of like, I think 30 to 60 days. And this would be something similar. So if your CI runs wild, it doesn't create all these artifacts that we have to maintain. And it also creates this kind of contract, social contract, that you can't rely on that for production. Like you're not going to ever start to reference that version staged versions of packages in production, right? Because they're eventually going to go away. So yeah, this is definitely something I'm pushing on. So what I get, the reason also to bring up this up is just to hopefully hold me accountable that we get this feature soon at some point. Because I do think it's important to have kind of those two things separated out, like a staging environment and then the action of a promotion. Now, the action of actually promoting to the registry, then we could build UI around that, but I don't have scope or insight into any kind of UI that would be introduced for that. I know there was talks of, what if it'd be great if NPM or GitHub had like a release manager interface that you can essentially do that promotion through a button click, right? Or, that type of thing. But I don't think that's on our radar right now. Like, just first step is let's get that new key in the document and provide an API that actually lets you not provide a different API, but allow the publish endpoint to essentially take a parameter for staging, like a Boolean essentially. And then we can build into the CLI tools ourselves, and other package managers can build into tooling the ability to essentially queue into that version, that type of place, this function. So
is the staging environment like obviously, or is it like, it sounds like it's pre-registry, so is it?
No, it'd be in the registry. So it'd be information that the documents that we have right now are mutable anyway. So like the information that you get when you go registry.npmjs.org/Lodash is going to give you information that is mutable. So it's like, if you add a new collaborator or maintainer to that package, it gets reflected right away. And so the key that would be introduced there would be something called like staged versions. It would look very similar to the current versions object that lives there, but it would be a reference to the versions that exist and that were staged essentially, with potentially some extra metadata around it. The real value add, I think, from our end, if we introduce something like this, is to do scanning prior to publication. So you can imagine like security scanning prior to publication was really beneficial. And so you could wait, essentially have some sort of CI job that waits until scanning completes, and you get that metadata on that staged version to give you some semblance of like, okay, that at least there's some type of audit has happened, and then you go up. This is also really important for testing, because what we see with a lot of folks that have like monorepo instances is that they're spinning up Verdaccio servers to mock the registry, to stage all of their packages, and then do essentially this negotiation of like, oh, if like I publish all these packages that are interdependent on each other because they have a monorepo, then what happens? So if we provided a mechanism for them to actually do that just by adding some network requests, but having less configuration and not doing all this, spinning up all this work, then they could essentially also use it for testing. So then they spin up, they essentially do the staging to the registry of all their monorepos, and then they run tests, and then they can, that's another good use case.
So when we last discussed this last time, we didn't have overrides, which is also should make all of that much easier.
So it's like the staged version, like something, if say if you incorporated that and you had this like staging step, would I still be able to like npm I Lodash at like staged or something like that, or is it still closed off?
No. So I think in the RFC that was linked in this discussion references a flag called like with staging. So that would be provide us a flag to say opt into looking at the manifest that adds these staged versions to it.
Gotcha. Interesting. Because I know that, at least maybe I read it wrong, but GitHub Actions does have like a manual option, right? Where you can like build and then actually go into the action and click a button to like say promote, like say a static build, or I guess in this case, publish. I mean, I know that you don't want to tie everything npm to GitHub, but happy paths and stuff at least.
Yeah, we were looking at how we could leverage, like those are stepped environments, I think. Yeah, stepped environments, I think we called. For a step deployments, actually, I think it's what they call it.
Okay.
So it has to meet some condition and you can optionally say yes or no to promoting that. Yeah, like you could essentially use that as the gate yourself if you want to, but it's not the gate, it's not available to you anywhere, right? The artifact isn't available to you.
Right.
So that's,
I guess I was wondering if you could, that could be the mechanism. So that way you could reuse an existing mechanism. So after you've done your stage testing, it's like the same interface to then promote, and then up you go.
If I was in charge of those teams, I would consider doing that. Unfortunately, I don't have that.
Seems there's some
oversight.
synergy there.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think the interface is great in that situation, but yeah, I try to speak only to like the npm registry specifics.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, building a workflow that does the publish stage to real is much easier than building a workflow with just direct publish, primarily because the unstage and publish command would be very, very fast, I would assume, because it really doesn't have to do much, which means that you can take the OTP as an input to your action, to your manual workflow, which is not something that you may have easily achievable post merge to master, if you main, post merge to main, which is the usual time that you would want to publish something. So yeah, sounds cool.
Is that something we could make an action for, even if it's just the manual OTP, but through a GitHub action?
I'm pretty sure as soon, if there was a staging area, I would jump on building that workflow the next day.
Interesting. But I suppose even without the staged, could I create an action that I guess effectively suspends until I pull out my phone and punch in? Yeah, assuming you want to.
Yeah,
okay.
I can get you a reference to I forget who it was, but I can get you a reference to somebody who's built an interface for that. I think it actually uses ngrok to spin up.
Oh yeah. I didn't know if that would be a useful package maintenance working group project, or if someone's already fleshed it out, then or if they needed help.
Yeah, there are some similar POCs. Yeah, there are some similar POCs in that kind of area. I don't know if I have updated all the links in the doc itself, but I know there's folks who use Slack for that, entering the OTP bit, and like I said, Nearform has built Optic, although I'm not sure whether it's deployed on right now. But yeah, there's been some renewed work on that area.
But does the 2FA and CI that kind of workflow, or is it a way to even bypass the OTP?
No, it's you. The whole idea is
you would be able to punch
at least the intent of the document that I wrote is that there is a human approving that publish action,
right?
Outside, and it is a second factor, right? It's not like the CI having both keys,
right?
Which is a single factor effectively,
right? Okay, so it's like just need those kind of couple infer primitives, and then the action kind of just falls into place.
It's really about having token permissions separate for, so like if we introduce the staging for staged versions or a staged publish, what would be key here is that the token potentially that would be allowed to stage a version may not be the same, like may not have permissions to also promote the version.
I see.
Right?
Right.
So that's where I think Dom is speaking to that separation
I
of
see.
concerns, where you still want to put something up there, test it, like have it in this place, but then the actual promotion would happen separately and still potentially even be able to use the existing publish command, but that you would essentially have different permissions for that token that would do the publishing or promotion, right? So like that's those two separation of concerns right now, like I think is what is missing.
Gotcha.
So back to Darcy's original question. What do we want to do with this document in terms of next steps? Does it need some more, like, I don't know, Dominicus, if you want to do a pass through? It's in the drafts directory, so I don't think it has to be perfect. So, I'd be, if you said, I think this is good and useful, I'd be happy to approve it. But sort of, what do you think we should do there?
I know that I will unlikely that I'll have time to do a proper read through in the next couple of months. But if somebody could read through it and make some suggestions, I would definitely have time to click accept.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think perfect should be in the way of good enough. Like if we think the document is good, like I think obviously
It was good 3 years ago.
Right, yeah. We should have landed it 3 years ago, and then we would, if it had changed
2
it's like
years ago,
fine,
rather,
right?
but yeah, the world has changed since.
I mean, like one approach we could even take is like, we could edit the title to be, 2FA in CI circa 2019 or something. I don't know, right? Like, I'm sure there's valuable information there. It'd be a shame to just close it versus getting something landed that has some good information.
Mhm. Yeah, let me.
So I think one thing that's missing from the doc itself is that it doesn't link to the RFC, I think. So it definitely needs that added with the whole staging idea, right? Because all the other ideas, the implementation options. The staging area, maybe we could include some text around that, but we can do that post-merge. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe it just needs a little update to say that there's a couple upcoming things. Here are the links, and as those materialize, the process here could either simplify or take advantage of them or something like that. So it's like we can go from fully manual to stage to double tokens or whatever. It could landing it then, to your point, I think just means as long as we keep track of the related bits, then hopefully when those land, you can go back, be like, great, now you can just do this instead, because this landed in whatever, and just cut out a section or add a alternate flow. But maybe at least just getting this on our agenda at our board will just at least keep it in eyes and minds. Maybe just worth a comment saying like, there's a couple of recent developments that might be worth reviewing to see if they fit into this. Otherwise, we just land and maybe make another issue that's just like track these developments as they progress, and when they do, go back and update this doc, to trade a PR for an issue or something like that.
Be mindful also just to add the references to the recent blog post that we put out for 2FA enrollment. So that like very quickly, publishers are going to need to either start using automation tokens explicitly, I think. So that's happening this year. And so that's why this is going to be something that we're definitely going to want to like, I don't know, improve this whole experience.
In respect to that article, what is there a list of the top 100 somewhere?
No,
because it's not in that article as far as I could tell. It was kind of like, well, which ones got turned on? I don't know.
Yeah.
If you Google long enough, you'll find a top 1,000 Google.
I did find that top 1,000 2019 though, right?
I wonder who generated that.
I wish I had a newer one.
Yeah.
I remember that.
We'll have to find who generated that and slap their hands. Yeah, I don't know if we can get one of those generated again. I think I actually did probe internally a month or two back to try to get a new one generated for I know folks on this call and just in general to have that information available. I'll circle back on that. I can promise
Okay.
that I'll circle
I
back.
suspect there's a list if it's actually being turned on. So
There's definitely a list.
just to state the obvious, but yeah. Okay.
Darcy,
yeah.
is there an RFC for the staged environments that you were talking about?
I don't
missed
believe
Yeah,
it was
it's linked.
called. Yeah.
It's linked in the discussion.
Okay, cool.
So if you follow that PR for 2FA, it's linked there.
All right, awesome.
I just shared the ref there as well in chat. If you
Nice.
want.
Okay. Okay, anything more on that one we should talk about? So that gave me time to think of another one. Another thing I just wanted to mention. There were again as in historical work, but like when we created the PKGS org, I didn't quite close on all the governance changes, so I'm doing that now. And so one thing the moderation team was kind of like, we need to know a little bit more about PKGS and what's going on there, who are the people, so that in terms of moderation, they have the context. So the ask is that I create a meeting. So I've done that in terms of like I created a doodle. It's in that issue if people can fill in the doodle so that we can pick a time and get together with them and basically give them that context of like, hey, here's what the PKGS org is. Here's what's going on. They had questions like, are there any things of particular areas of concern that we should be looking out for or anything like that? So I think if we can just have that discussion, then we can kind of close out on the rest of the stuff.
Is that the one that you just created? I think it doesn't link to a doodle, but links to the 2FA PR.
Did I paste
wrong
the
thing in
wrong
the
thing?
clipboard?
282. Okay.
It's just a link to the PR. Could have been worse.
Yeah, okay. Let me edit that. So yes, I got the wrong, I guess my cut and paste didn't work. Of course, now I've closed the doodle. So here we go. Sent me an email anyway, so that's nice. Copy link, which I thought I'd done, and paste. Okay, hopefully that's the right link now. Thanks for quickly pointing that out. I guess while I'm here, I can fill it out for me. Okay, that's the last thing. Anything else we should talk about before we close out for this week?
Just can I get a bit of context around the sync with the moderation team? I know you kind of alluded to what they're asking for, but what are they hoping to get from that call?
But here, let me find the issue, I think, which maybe you can, rather than it being secondhand, you can read. So let me see if I can find that. It might be. Well, this is the PR, and here I can add that in. I'll add that into that issue in the repo as well. But basically, you can see, I think in there was some discussion. The PR was to basically update the moderation documentation to say it covers both orgs. And then, it was we created the orgs, we started using it, it was approved, but we didn't actually like update all the right places. So now they're like, oh, wait a sec, we didn't know this was happening, right? And then, asking some good questions. And so it's, I think it's the easiest way we thought in the end was like to say, okay, if we actually get together and have some discussion between the two teams, I think like we'll be able to address questions and answers pretty quickly. Not having good cut and paste today. This is okay. So does that answer your question, Darcy?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, any other things before we close out? If not, thanks for everybody's time and those who may be watching on the YouTube. And we'll see everybody in GitHub next time. Thanks.
Good one.